Welcome back to the Rhonda Swan Show. Guys, I'm so excited for this show because I have the very first co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, Diana Wentworth, who is now going to be joining me. In fact, Diana was not only the first co-author, but she's also part of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series that has sold over 500 million books. There are over 276 books in this series. And the crazy part, we're going to talk about this, Chicken Soup was turned down 144 times. So if you want to get inspired and learn from someone that is wild and resilient, this is the show for you. In fact, Diana is the foreword in our upcoming book that has just launched, Women Gone Wild. Diana is not only the foreword, but she's also going to be a speaker on our summit because she truly embraces that woman that is fully gone wild. So without any further ado, Diana, come and join me on the show. How are you?
I'm great. I love that introduction. I'm just having so much fun being with you all the way from Palm Springs, California.
I love it. So Diana, really, I didn't know that you were not only the first woman co-author, but you were also the first co-author with Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. How did that actually take place? Because you are a legend.
Well, it's hard to start right with that moment, but we were at the Inside Edge, which is a breakfast organization that my first late husband, and I created in 1985. So Jack Canfield had not written a book yet. He was a member of the Inside Edge. Mark Victor Hansen was a member, Barbara DeAngelis, Louise Hay, all these, Susan Jeffers, all these people who had not yet written books. So it was
no way. None of them have written a book yet. No, look at the books that these people have produced since then.
Oh yeah, this was the very beginning of the whole thing. And one morning, Jack Canfield was speaking at the Inside Edge, and he had been sitting on my left, and Mark Victor Hansen was on my right. And Jack said, I'm working on this book. I don't have a title yet, but it's going to be all these stories that the speakers, these great motivational speakers used, and they make people laugh or cry. And when he sat down, Mark leaned across me and said, I'm going to do that book with you. And Jack said, you are? Why would I let you do this book with me? It's almost done. He said, because I'm a great marketer. I mean, this actually happened. I'm sitting here listening to this conversation. And later when I thought about it, it was like Jack was the sperm, Mark was the egg, and I was the,
you were the womb.
So I feel like, and Jack acknowledged that. He said that the Chicken Soup for the Soul series would not have existed without me and the Inside Edge. So that's a great joy for me. And then to turn out and be the co-author too was, the first co-author was really exciting because everybody thought that Chicken Soup for the Soul was a cookbook. And I had written 6 cookbooks in my previous career, one of which had been Cookbook of the Year. And so all of a sudden they said, wait a minute, Diana could write this book. So they called me on the phone. You're going to love this story. This is really funny. They called me on the phone. It was the day before Thanksgiving. They said, what are you doing right now? And I said, well, I'm doing this turkey. And they said, no, put your cookbooks in a bag. Come over here. We're nearby. The publisher's here. And you're going to do the Chicken Soup for the Soul cookbook. And I thought, so I said, I'll be right there. But on the way over, I thought, 101 chicken soup recipes. I don't know. This didn't make sense to me until I thought that, it's really around the table that so many connections happen, and food is really just like a catalyst. And so by the time I got there, I said, okay, I got it. This can happen. And the publisher said, okay, can you get it done in 3 months? And I said, 3 months? Why do I have to get it done in 3? And they said, well, you just have to. And I said, well, if you'll all, help me ask for stories from a lot of people. And then they said, well, what do you need to get started? And I said, I need an advance, because I'd always had an advance before. And the publisher said, I'm sorry, we don't give advances.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, you don't really need me. You can do this in-house. And he said, well, we're going to give you a third of the book. And I'm like, already the first 2 are at the top of the bestseller list, so I'm thinking, wow. And my first royalty check was $240,000 for 3 months work.
Yes! That's amazing. You're like, okay, that was worth it. That was worth not taking that front end draw.
Right. Yes, they could have paid me $30,000 and I probably would have gone away happy.
Wow. Okay. So this is crazy, Diana. Like, really, I am so just, I don't want to say starstruck because it sounds cheesy, but it's like, oh my gosh, I remember these books. I remember your book. You know, I'm 48 now, and that your book launched in 1995, right?
Right.
You know, I was like 21 years old or something, you know, like these books were so impactful and they made such a big difference. But you being now this first, especially woman co-author, you're kind of like leading the show with them. Were there any like crazy like things or difficulties that you guys had other than you launching it and getting it done in 3 months? Were there any like big challenges that you had when you were launching that book?
Well, you know, it was a funny time in my life because I had just turned the Inside Edge into a 501c3, stepped back, except for booking all the speakers, and wondered what I didn't know who I was without that. You know, have you ever left a job that you've had for a long time? It's real identity crisis. So I would say to my husband, you know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do now. I don't know who I am anymore. But I was drawn, I think because of Chicken Soup, to just start writing a whole lot of personal stories that would be kind of like Chicken Soup stories, but I wasn't thinking of Chicken Soup. So I kept writing these stories and I said to my husband, I don't have a job now. He says, you do have a job. You are supposed to follow your heart. And then that phone call came. And do you know that 15 out of 16 of those stories fit in the Chicken Soup book? And that helped me get it done in 3 months. So that was really good.
Wow, you know, and I think too, like, would you say when you're writing books like this, because this is what I'm experiencing with the Woman Gone Wild book, right? We've got now 24 authors that are in the book, and it's every one of these stories are so healing, right? To learn from these women, and so is that part of like the way that you have been writing and how your work has come to fruition is like really learning through these stories and allowing that to heal? Because I think this is really what made Chicken Soup so popular. People really are truly healed from these stories.
It's true. It's true. They're so empowering and they're so relatable. Mm-hmm. You really probably need to know how much magic I've had in my life because it's one thing after another. It's been the most amazing life. And I don't know how much you know about my past, but I learned to trust the magic very early. I was in Paris with my mother. Well, actually, I was on the pledge porch in my sorority at UCLA.
Okay, what was your sorority though? I have to know.
Tri Delta.
Okay, so I was a Delta Zeta. I was like, oh, that would be really super cool and very, you know, like. Okay, all right. So go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, we were on the pledge porch and the music was really loud. And I said, hey, can you turn the music down? And somebody said, oh, Diana doesn't like Elvis Presley. And all of a sudden, I had this kind of wave come over me. And it was like, I said, actually, I do like him and I'm going to date him someday. And they all looked at me and I didn't know why I said that. You know, it was like this frog jumped out of my mouth. And so everybody was just jaw dropped. And 3 months later, I went to Paris with my mother to begin a tour, and we stayed at the Hotel Prince de Galles. And long story short, on the second day I was there, we were a kid from the tour came running up to me and said, Diana, Elvis Presley's in the dining room.
Stop it.
He's all alone except for these other two guys, and I'm too scared to go up and ask him for his autograph. And I said, oh, well, I'll go with you. So I'm marching up to him, and he's in his army uniform, just drop dead, gorgeous, you know. And I just said, hi, I'm Diana Webb from Beverly Hills, and Jimmy here wants your autograph. And I can't take the time to tell the whole story because I actually ended up knowing him over 2 years and went out with him many times. But he took me that night to the Lido. I think he just wanted a girl on his arm so he wouldn't be mobbed and torn to shreds. But still, I mean, how could I have tapped into anything that would ever have me dating him? He was in the army in Germany at the time. So something about that. I mean, it wasn't so important that I knew him. What was really important was that I trusted this inner knowing.
Yeah.
And I trusted, you know, these ahas, these light bulbs that would suddenly go on. And because I've trusted those, I've been led into more and more magic in my life.
Well, first off, not only that you met Elvis Presley, but you went on a date with Elvis Presley and like you knew him for several years. That's like such a time like warp that is amazing. But more importantly, I mean, that's the message of magic is a really big topic, right? Like where we women have so much depth of this intuition and, you know, us being given the, you know, the possibility to create life, right? Like we have this magic inside of us. And I think this is why, Diana, this book that we're launching, Women Gone Wild, is also like this magic is coming from inside of it. And it's because of these women's stories that are finally being able to really talk about it. And they're learning now to release that magic or listen to that magic, you know? And so, what would you say, like when we asked you, I mean, David Fagan is a very good, great friend of mine. I know he's an amazing friend of yours. He's also the publisher of this book, Speaker House Publishing. And when we were talking, I said, you know, David, I just really want someone with depth. I want a woman that has just done unbelievable things. She's totally gone wild and she represents it. We had like all these names, right? And there was celebrities and all this stuff in it. And he's like, Diana Wentworth. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like this is the epitome of a woman that like balances and listens to herself and just goes for it and goes wild. Can you share, like, why did you say yes? When he told me, you don't even understand. I was like, like really, I mean, truly from the depth of my soul, so excited.
I love it. You know, it was the strangest thing. And it's just another piece of serendipity. A few days before David reached out to me, I had bought a domain called Women Writing Wild.
No.
Can you believe that? I
See, more magic.
Knew nothing about your book yet. And it happened because I was in a writing class and we learned to write really, really fast, you know, without thinking or having an editor or judging it at all. And all of a sudden, this very personal story started pouring out of me. And I looked so excited that the woman called to me, the woman teaching the class, to read this story. And it was really very embarrassing kind of story. But I said yes, and I read it, and it was all about, you know, being a teenager with menstrual pads and all this stuff. It was just 400 people sitting there. And afterwards, I thought, oh my God, you know, women have a trapped exuberance. We've had a lid put on us. We helped put it on, but I mean, it's been there that we're too much, you know, that we can't be all of who we are, that it's just more than anybody wants to know. And I think that there's a lot of magic in that untapped exuberance. And so I got to thinking, I want to teach a writing class for women to tap into that and find out what's there and feel safe enough to explore it, you know? So, I mean, that really literally days before. So then when he told me about the project, I was totally on board. You know, I just thought that is so much fun.
Diana, this is the first time I'm actually hearing this.
I know. I don't think David even knows all that.
This is, I mean, I have goosebumps all over my body, right? And you know when that's right. Mm-hmm. There's so much of these things, these intuitive, and these signs that have been coming. Like I've been having a really big transformational life. When you said there's women that, you know, they had this lid on and they're coming out, you know, I've always been rather bold. However, I realize now that I had been navigating as this powerful businesswoman, example for my daughter, but under that lid, like a small bird in a really big cage, because I was following what I thought I was supposed to do, get accepted in corporate, accepted by the, you know, that masculine energy, right? Can you share like your thoughts on, you know, how women, you know, the balance of that masculine, that feminine, right? And how do you even help keep that balance within yourself? Because it's easy to just go hard, like you ran the edge, like, but you're such a beautiful, feminine, confident woman. Were there times where you like felt like you were also being suppressed or not able to really balance into that?
I was definitely feeling that way. And, you know, I think that we all really know when we're very young what we really want. And in my family, I didn't see a good marriage modeled, but I knew that I was here to have a deep, deep spiritual bond with a life partner. And that's what I wanted more than anything. That came, took precedence over anything else that I did. And fortunately, I knew to go stand in a hotel lobby in Hong Kong one morning, and long before breakfast was ready to open. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing here. I thought, what am I doing here? The elevator opens and out walks Paul von Wellenetz, and we were engaged 3 days later.
Wow.
And he was like this most amazing man, but had a feminine side too. He was a real loner. He was an artist, and he really got the divine feminine. He really did. And he knew how to be intimate, that I could tell him anything. I trusted him completely. And so we had this amazing career together, writing cookbooks. We had a television show that was all over the world, and ran a cooking school on Sunset Boulevard where Wolfgang Puck would come and teach. I mean, just very magical kinds of things like that happened. But I had a partner there that trusted these knowings that I would have. So when the Inside Edge was born inside of me, before that, we suddenly, our career was failing because the super chefs were out, and it wasn't about cooking for people and having them around the table and heart connecting and, feeling the energy of the room. And we didn't love it anymore. And we were invited to go to the Soviet Union with a whole lot of amazing people like Dennis Weaver and Barbara Marx Hubbard and the real Patch Adams and all these people to be citizen diplomats. And that just called to me. And Paul said, okay, well, we'll go. And we went. And it was there when I saw all these leaders, all these loners, all these activists start to share resources and connect. Mm-hmm. And I began to think, hey, I don't have to cook the food, but we can still gather these people around the table and share. So every Tuesday morning, we in Beverly Hills and then in Orange County and San Diego, 3 days in a row, every speaker that I invited to come and speak said yes. It was incredible. And then he passed away. Paul passed away to about 4 years into the Inside Edge. And as he was very close to the end, he said, I don't want you to be alone. Mm. And I said, send me someone. And he said, I will. And he had this look in his eye, like, I think he thinks he can do that, And 2 months later, into the Inside Edge, walks Ted Wentworth, who we were married 8 months after Paul. Can you believe that? But he too, he was very into spirituality. He wrote a book called The Enlightenment Code, and he wrote a book called Build a Better Spouse Trap, which is a strategy for men to find the right kind of woman for all the right reasons. And so we were married for 31 years, and he just passed away 4 months ago. So I'm on my second reinvention phase here in my life to find out what it's like to be doing all these things without a partner, and without that, to have somebody having my back.
Well, thanks for sharing that. It's really beautiful because I think, Diana, like with my generation for certain, my family also didn't represent like a divine union, right? And I think women, especially like young women or newer generations, it's like there's so much this objectification of the feminine, and these marriages are they're so shallow, they're very skin deep, right? And bringing back like the true divine union, like divine masculine, divine feminine coming together and creating beautiful balance. And my husband, we've been together for 23 years, and even more recently, we've had such a more connected relationship. And I tell you, like when the family is connected and the woman is able to create our magic, right? I always tell my husband, I'm a powerful woman and I have a lot of masculinity in me. However, all I want from you is to know that I've got that masculine support so that I can create my magic, right? Like we can get witchy and do the things that women do. And I know that women that are listening or reading this book are going to feel that and start yearning for more of that type of connection. And I feel that that's the epitome of women that have gone wild, because we actually know what we want, and we're not afraid to ask.
That's so key to everything. Knowing the feeling that you want to have is just key. I always work with clients and get them to really find out what it is that purest feeling that they want to create, and focus on that, and then we can work on it.
Yeah, it's so big. And I think women now more than ever need that type of guidance. So can you share like some of the work that you're doing now? Because I know that you're also, I mean, you're healing, you're doing yoga, like there's so much work that you do with women and men as well. Is that right? Or is it only women?
In the Inside Edge, we still have men. We've had 1,500 speakers over the years. And this morning, I think we had half men, which is unusually wonderful.
Yeah.
But I also we're writing classes, storytelling, doing your own chicken soup for the soul stories about your life so that future generations can figure out who you really were. I think that's really, really important. Or how to write your own tribute page. I did one for my late husband at tedwentworth.com that really was how he wanted to be remembered. But why aren't we doing this now for ourselves? What is it from our lives that we can have the showcase of everything that we ever created? So I love to, spark women into really thinking about these things and writing about these things. And I still run the Inside Edge as far as we have Gary Zukav coming as a speaker in November with his new book, The Universal Human, which I'm so into right now. That book is just life-changing. He has the great feminine side too, and he has a partner that really works with him. So he's so balanced that way. And, I love Zoom. It's, 2020 was really a time of shedding so much of the surface stuff. It just seemed to go away. And I'm much more tuned into I think what I authentically want and have to offer. And that feels really good. Mm-hmm. So, I could be reached through dianawentworth.com. There's a contact me there and tells all about some of the things that I've done. And
I love it. Well, I know that everyone's so excited to meet you.
I'm so excited too. I'm excited for the book. I think it's just great that you had this extremely wonderful concept and followed it. I think having the commitment to do these things. Our speaker this morning is the first woman who walked around the world.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And she said, this is what commitment is. When you find a way over every hurdle in your path and nothing but success is an option. And I think I was trained in that really early, in that you just do whatever you have to do, no matter what, to make it happen. And you must have gone over a lot of hurdles. And I think it's very great.
Well, thank you. I mean, and I think you're right. I mean, it's like, keep failing. And, I didn't have time for this. I literally didn't have time for this book, right? I'm running a company. I've got all these other things happening in my life. However, January of last year, I had one of my VIP branding retreats, and I had my clients there. And there were 6 women sitting at the table, and 4 of them are in the book right now. And I said, ladies, there's a shift happening, and one of the women is really heavy into, the balance of the masculine and feminine. And she's like, Rhonda, your nervous system is going to be shot if you keep running this way. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you're doing so much for us, but you're exhausted every day, and this is going to burn you out. And so I started to actually really listen. And we started to talk more deeply. And I was like, what is it that women need? Like, I'm a powerhouse, right? And I've just been a machine and do the things that I need to do to get things done. However, I also know that if I wanted to teach my daughter how to be a better woman and build businesses, you don't have to burn out. There's got to be a balance in that. And so we said, why don't we do that? Why don't we write a book about our lives, how we've done it, and where we've gone now? Because all of us are having these awakenings. And that's why this book has been a year and a half in the making. And it only started with myself and the 4 founders of the book. And then we, of course, were super inspired by Chicken Soup and like, what if we did more women? What if we had more women telling their stories? And these awakening stories and how they've gone through it. And so I said, I've got to do this. Like, David, we need to talk. I was going to self-publish, just do it simply. I'm like, David, we had spoke together in Dubai like 5 years ago. And it's like, I need to talk to you. I've got an idea. And he goes, you need to do this. And so it's really becoming, it's like part of my awakening and part of my life's mission and my purpose. My soul is singing every day for what we're doing. And it just feels really beautiful. So thank you, of course, for just who you are and the representation and the example that you're making for my generation, my daughter's generation. She's also in the book. and just for truly being you. But I'd like for you to state again, Diana, if you could, where can they find you now? Because I know everyone's gonna, want to go looking again for you. And then we'll be together on the summit that's coming up at the end of September. And I'm sure that these women that are going to be part of this next series of the book, which is WILD, Wealth, Intuition, Leadership, and Diversity. We're going to have to talk, Diana. We might have to have these new authors in your course so they can really learn how to share their story.
Well, I just love the whole concept, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much. DianaWentworth.com really needs revising. It's got a lot of old stuff on there. I've been around a long time, and then Inside Edge is InsideEdge.org. It's the Inside Edge Foundation for Education. And there's a YouTube channel where you can watch a lot of these presentations that we've had over the years that have been just great. So you can see them on YouTube, and there's a way to connect there. So I just love to hear from anybody that would like to connect with me. I always love meeting wonderful women, and I'm just very excited about all this.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. I really, truly appreciate it. We are so happy that you've gone wild with us and all this amazing new things that are yet to come. So everyone, I hope you truly, truly enjoyed this episode. It's not only one of my honors, but it's certainly something that's going to take, I know, women's lives to the next level, just seeing and watching these stories. So thank you again, Diana.
It is a great subject for right now. We need to go wild. This world needs us to be wild and creative and joyful and empowered. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you, my love. All right, guys. Well, this episode is a wrap. I want to hear from you. Like, have you ever read, which Chicken Soup for the Soul did you read? Did you read Diana's book? And did you even consider, what if you had an idea that you could create that could leave impact? Not just make you money, but really truly leave impact. This is the new earth operating system. This is where we're leaning into, and this is where ideas of women, you can birth new ideas. This new idea of Women Gone Wild came out of nowhere. But now I'm realizing the impact that it can leave. And imagine, what if your life could be about creating impact and ideas and changing other people's lives? That's what this show is about today. My guest, Diana Wentworth. Wow. Give her some love. Make sure she knows down below in the show that you absolutely enjoyed this episode. And I cannot wait to see you on the next show. Have a great one, everyone. Be unstoppable and stay wild.